All right, so here's my proposal on maneuvering in regiments. I think the whole wheeling and moving and spinning, whatever, is too complicated. I know it sounds simple and everything, but I think there's a better way to do it. So instead of moving half or whatever, you just take the person in the front middle and measure anyway. So if he's within 12, then he can charge. But obviously here he can't. So in order to move towards the flank, you would just move him, let's say I move him 6 here, and he's pointing this way, and everybody would reform around him, except what you do with this is that if you have, these guys are quality 4, you normally roll a 4 quality, but the standard would give you a +1. Instead of morale, it gives you this, or maybe it does both, but for maneuver, the banner, or actually the musician, will give you a +1, let's say. So this gives you morale, the musician gives you +1 to the roll, so now they need a 3, and he succeeds, so now I can turn it like so, and then bring everybody in around him, and then they can shoot. Okay, so that, to me, that makes it easier, and if you do a complex maneuver like this, then you will you could be out of position. If I rolled a 1 or 2, now this would look like this, and their flank would be exposed because they're not doing so hot on their maneuvers. So I think that's a mechanic in the game that really should be, if you're within 12, the middle guy's within 12, then you can charge, and you just go ahead and do it, easy peasy. And for flank charges, you draw a line here. If the middle guy is wholly behind, completely behind that line, I'm talking about the middle front guy, if he's totally behind, then you can do a flank charge. Very, very simple. And then same thing on the rear. If he is, you draw a straight line from the side here. If he's completely behind, then he can do a rear charge. Okay, so you have more maneuverability, but there's still more restrictions, and there's no more angles or anything. It's a straight line. It's easier. You know, people can manipulate the 40. This is 45. This is 45. No, it's too imprecise, and it slows down the game. You got to bring out like special, protractors or something to figure that out. Just uh, just keep it real simple and let these maneuvers happen. So, for instance, you start off here, you're going to have to do a front charge. Bam, done. If you're over here and this middle guy is behind, even though these guys are not, as long as this guy is completely behind this front line, he can do a side charge. And so that makes it a little bit easier to decide where everything's going to go, makes things move a lot faster. So let's say he's over here and he wants to uh, get to the side flank. He can move here, and then he does, since he's within charge distance, he can um, do it. And since he missed, now his guys are basically running past them, and he's messing up that flank charge. So instead of doing a front charge, he risked doing a flank charge for next turn. It failed, so now he's stuck there. Okay, and that's going to be a problem. Now, as far as being able to charge, remember I have the 45 degrees. It just has to be, the unit has to be in their front half here. So you draw a line here, and as long as they're in the front, bam, they could do a charge. Okay, so I think it just makes it easier. The rules say you have a musician, then you can get a +1 to your quality check in order to see if you can turn. Yes, it doesn't feel realistic, but it's going to work out, because if you fail, if you do this maneuver and you fail the roll, now you're out of position. Otherwise, you are able to form your guys in a proper position. Okay, so let's say you got here and you were able to turn sideways. Can this guy now charge? That's a good interpretation, but I would say that his front arc doesn't meet the middle guy. So then no. Okay, so that's the easiest way to do it. The middle guy is always the one that you're looking at. Um, if you're on the front arc here and he is wholly behind, you cannot charge him. If, however, he's like this, then you can charge him because he's not in the side arc. Okay, so that works. Now, let's say you want to face him, so that you can receive a front arc, whatever. You can go like this. You can just simply go straight at him, in which case it's good. Or maybe you need to want to get a little bit of space. So you go out here and then you do your roll, and he fails, and now he's really out of position. But had he succeeded, he would have been like this. He could have twisted any way that he wanted to. So it's maybe it's not doing it justice here. We got to see it on a battlefield, and I'm definitely going to do a battle report using these rules. But I think this is the best way to do it. It's simple. It makes it distinct from the Age of Fantasy game, but it'll still feel a lot like the Age of Fantasy game. And the idea that I want to have is that you have a rank and flank game that uses all the rules that give you the advantage rank and flank and still give you that sense of maneuver without over restricting. So let's say you've got this going on here. Okay, so can you go around? Well, if you have 12 inches to go around, then yes. Okay, so you go around 12 inches and basically the charge just goes like this. Very simple. Okay, and if you don't have enough room, then they back up a little bit so that they get the charge in. So they just kind of come running around and attack that way. But they have to have enough movement to go all the way around. And we're just measuring this guy here. We're not trying to measure all the other guys and try to make it work. Now, as far as shooting, again, you just use the front area here so that you can see them. So if they're off over here, as long as this guy here is in the front half, then you can shoot. Okay, so we'll put this into action and see how it works. Again, I want it to be restrictive enough so that you get the rank and flank feel, but it's not restrictive enough that you can't really do the kind of maneuvers you want to do in 4 to 6 rounds. All right, there's a couple things that I wanted to address. First, let's say you want to move around an object with this maneuver. What direction? So, because some people will be like, well, I'm going to move here and then I'm going to turn this way. So if I got my 12 and I'm moving like this, does that mean now I can move everybody in the direction that we were going? And the answer is no. So, crud, I just killed the spear. So basically what happens is if you move this guy around, let's say he's going here, and you moved in this direction and you fail your test, you draw a straight line from the beginning through the center, and it's got to go in that direction. And now everybody moves, everybody now moves around and puts it in this space like so. So now he's facing in that direction as though he went in a straight line. You just have to move around, and that's everything. Okay. The second thing I wanted to address was scouts. If you have scouts and you're doing a maneuver, they get +2, whether they have a banner or a musician or not. They get +2 to their maneuver, so they can maneuver. Let's say they go here, and then they want to turn, and they've got a let's say a quality of 4. Now they got 2, and they failed it anyway, so they're over here. But the downside of scout would be that yes, they get +2 to their maneuver, but they get -2 to combat resilience. So it's like a minus fear instead of plus fear. So they got the opposite of fear. So basically they're supposed to maneuver around and hit flanks and so forth, and if they don't, they're going to get crushed. So those are the two things I wanted to clarify.